steamy Wednesday afternoon as we begin the Dan O'Donnell Show. The biggest news in sports, unfortunately, we are not dining on free burgers today as the Brewers win streak stops one game shy last night in Seattle. They won 11 straight games. Sad news out of lacrosse. Elliot Hines was found deceased in the Mississippi River. We will get to that story coming up, most likely in the 5 o'clock hour. Just in, Brian Kohberger has been sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences in connection with the Idaho murders. We'll try to get to that later on in the program. But by far, the biggest national story today, President Obama, as well as his intelligence chiefs, have been referred to the Department of Justice for potential criminal charges in connection with their roles in creating the Russiagate conspiracy. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard made the announcement just about an hour and a half ago.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration.
Tulsi outlined in painstaking detail, meticulous detail, just how the intelligence was cooked, how President Obama changed the initial assessment that Russia did not prefer a President Trump victory. In fact, what we sort of knew all along, but people had forgotten, was that Russia, just like the rest of the world back in 2016, just assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win. In fact, newly unsealed documents released in the report that Gabbard outlined today in the White House press briefing room show that Putin had compiled tons of data, tons of intelligence on Hillary Clinton, but did not release it ahead of the election because he thought even if he did, even if Russia was able to successfully meddle on Trump's behalf, it wouldn't matter, because Trump was going to lose. The goal, of course, was always to undermine faith in American democracy. Turns out the Democrats did that far better than Putin could have ever dreamed of over the past nearly 1 decade. But they had dirt on Hillary Clinton, including alleged criminal acts that they were going to release. And this is critical. The Obama team knew they were going to release this after Inauguration Day to undermine Hillary's presidency. We will get into that in just 1 second, because you need to know exactly what is going on with respect to the Russiagate facts. You are likely not going to hear this anywhere else. Heaven knows you're not going to get it at jsonline.com or tomorrow's edition of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. You're probably not going to get it on any of the nightly newscasts. You will get the information you need right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. And if you'd like to join us, our phone lines, our text lines, they're always open. AdventNews.com talk and text line is 414-799-1130, 1-888-947-6. You can reach me toll free at that number or via email, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. We are streaming on all three. Again, streaming on LinkedIn just because we can. And of course, we've got a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Final few days of the sizzling summer cash contest, and the word this hour, is Bank, B-A-N-K, Bank. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword bank to enter the contest for this hour. Bank, B-A-N-K, Bank. $1,000 in the bank for you if your entry is picked at random. At today's White House press briefing, DNI Gabbard outlined exactly what it was that Russia was doing versus what it was that the Obama team was saying Russia was doing ahead of the 2016 election. Again, all of this was predicated on the idea that everyone had, and it's almost impossible to understate the level to which everyone in the world just assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win. You might remember it, and people who are a bit younger, maybe weren't paying attention to politics in the pre-Trump era, might recall that the New York Times and I believe BuzzFeed, one of the other prediction services, had on the morning of Election Day 2016, Hillary Clinton as a 99% favorite to win the presidency. The Russians didn't have some special knowledge that Trump was going to win. Nobody thought Trump was going to win. And as Gabbard explains, the Russians were operating accordingly.
Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency.
What's remarkable about this is the intelligence that Russia apparently had on Hillary Clinton. The SVR, this reading from the report, possessed DNC communications that, quote, Clinton was suffering from intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. Clinton was placed on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers, and while afraid of losing, she remained obsessed with a thirst for power. The SVR also had information that Clinton suffered from type 2 diabetes, ischemic heart disease, deep vein thrombosis, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, aka COPD. There was also a campaign email discussing a plan approved by Secretary Clinton to link Putin and Russian hackers to candidate Trump in order to distract the American public from the Clinton email server scandal. Now, this intelligence is sort of the missing link as to why it was that the Steele dossier was commissioned in the first place. It was commissioned, you might recall, right around the time that Hillary Clinton was in a deep scandal involving her emails. It wasn't until the day after the 4th of July of 2016, July 5th, 2016. I will remember this always, because I said there's no way that Hillary Clinton is going to campaign with President Obama for the first time in North Carolina that afternoon. And when a hastily called press conference with then FBI Director James Comey was scheduled for the morning of July 5th, I said there's no way he's going to clear her of all criminal wrongdoing in the morning just so she can hop on Air Force One to campaign with President Obama in the evening. Turns out I was wrong, and Comey absolutely did clear Clinton of all wrongdoing. But in order to distract from the massive scandal here, the intelligence apparently shows that Clinton commissioned the Steele dossier using her law firm Perkins Coie to distract from this burgeoning scandal. Back to the document, the dirt on Hillary. The Russian Federal Security Service, or FSB, in August had details of secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which U.S. State Department representatives offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton, significant increases in financing from department funds and the patronage of the State Department in dealing with post-Soviet countries. Interesting. The SVR also had information that the DNC leadership and Clinton's foreign policy advisors had heard that U.S. allies in London, Berlin, Paris, and Rome were not optimistic about a Clinton presidency. They had expressed notes of doubt regarding her ability to perform the functions of a head of state. They were planning to release all of this, whether or not it was true, and some of it rings true. The idea that she's on, quote, heavy tranquilizers does not, because while they're going in, the issues with her health, yes, do sort of have the veneer of truth here. The idea that she's on, quote, heavy tranquilizers do not, because they have detailed information about her supposed health conditions, but not the medicine she was taking. In any way, the purpose of this was to plan for a Hillary Clinton presidency. And the proof is sort of in that last item that I outlined, that allies in London, Berlin, Paris, and Rome were not optimistic about a Clinton presidency because they expressed notes of doubt regarding her ability to lead. That was all going to be leaked as she's taking her first meetings as president of the United States with the heads of state of these countries. It's aimed at undermining the United States. It had nothing to do with Donald Trump because they thought the election would be the last time anybody would ever talk about Donald Trump because he was going to get shellacked by so much. Even though the intelligence clearly showed this, even though all of the actual intelligence showed that there was really nothing to this idea that the Russians wanted Donald Trump more than they wanted just a general sense of distrust of American leadership, you had the CIA director, John Brennan, repeatedly ignoring that actual intelligence to go back over and over and over to the discredited Steele dossier.
Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess, quote unquote, Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump.
Now, critically, Brennan was so invested in the Trump dossier, which again was known to be a discredited campaign document that was not true. He was so invested in it that when he was challenged by top intelligence officials, once it was ordered by President Obama, as we will see, because Gabbard actually goes through the timeline of these meetings in December of 2016 to meticulously build her case for potential criminal prosecution of everybody involved here, up to and including potentially the former President Obama. Brennan was actually confronted by a top official who said, look, this isn't true. We know this isn't true. You know what Brennan's response was? Yeah, well, it sort of rings true, doesn't it?
John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway. CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, the director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it. And when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, yes, but doesn't it ring true? I
don't think I need to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is not how intelligence gathering is done. So how exactly is President Obama potentially criminally culpable? When we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, Director Gabbard outlines the meetings at which Obama directed the intelligence assessments to be changed. That's coming up next when we come back.
iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
September 19th and 20th, streaming live only on Hulu. 15 artists, 2 nights, 1 stage. Get tickets now at AXS.com.
Lenovo and the iHeartRadio Music Festival. Tech that hits different. Can your gear keep up with the beat? Lenovo PCs are built for creators, dreamers, and fans who don't hit pause. Visit Lenovo.com for the latest in AI PCs and game-changing tech.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Get back to the ballpark for Brewers action against the Marlins July 25th through the 27th. Second half of the season kicks off with Pokemon Go Day on the 25th and a Bryce Terang bobble on the 26th. Get seats today, Brewers.com.
We use powerful truck-mounted carpet cleaning units designed to remove even the toughest dirt, and certified cleaning technicians who understand the definition of clean.
Edelman Carpet, Furniture, and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
For safe, purified water right from your faucet, the solution is crystal clear.
Any project, big or small, when it comes to water, one call does it all. SNK, Pump and Plumbing.
Homeowners across Wisconsin trust WeatherPro Exteriors for the best in roofing, siding, windows, and doors. Voted Milwaukee's 2024 top choice. We are proud to deliver the highest quality and service. Right now, get $1,000 off a full roof replacement, plus a $200 Quick Trip gift card. Your home is your biggest investment. Make sure it's protected with top quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors built to last. Visit WeatherProExteriors.com today.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump.
That's Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's director of national intelligence, just about 2 hours ago at the Daily White House press briefing, announcing the results of an investigation into newly declassified documents that show pretty convincingly that President Obama, along with his intelligence chiefs, John Brennan, the then director of the CIA, director of national intelligence, James Clapper, as well as FBI Director James Comey, absolutely did rely on the Steele dossier in order to create the false narrative that President Trump was a puppet of Russia, that Russia wanted Trump to win, that they were attempting to boost his candidacy by hacking the DNC emails shortly before the convention and doing whatever Russia could to promote Trump's candidacy, when in fact the actual intelligence showed beyond any reasonable doubt that Russia, like the rest of the world, thought Trump was a buffoon and there was no way the American people would ever elect him president. They were compiling information, whether true or false, against Hillary Clinton because they just assumed that Clinton was going to win the presidency and she would be their new geopolitical foe. This was the thing that was just sort of lost in all of the reporting on Russiagate. How was it that Russia was so confident that Trump was going to win? Nobody thought Trump was going to win. When I say nobody, I mean nobody. Trump's victory in 2016 was very likely the biggest political upset in American history. When he did win, you might remember that there were a grand total of maybe 2-3 weeks where Democrats were actually being a little introspective. And they were saying, hey, maybe we really don't understand what these racist hicks in flyover country actually want. Perhaps thinking of us as racist hicks from flyover country is half the problem. But here we are 9 years later, and they still absolutely believe that and are still exactly where they were when they lost in 2016. But there was a little bit of introspection until early December 2016. And I will remember this. It's remarkable how much I remember from this time period because it so thoroughly dominated the first 3 years of the Trump presidency, which also coincided with the first 3 years I was doing a daily talk radio show. So I talked about this stuff. I researched this stuff constantly from 2017 to the Mueller report's release in the spring of 2019. And it was Clinton's campaign which, over hamburgers and beer, staying up late one night in late November, early December, trying to come up with an excuse as to how they lost a campaign or an election that was considered to be unlosable. Nobody thought you could lose to Donald Trump. Trump's an idiot. Well, we didn't know then that he was actually a political phenomenon. And 10 years later is clearly the cultural touchstone of the past decade. Whether you like it or not, libs, we live in the Trump era. It will be remembered as the Trump era. But back then, it was considered just this insane shock. And people were looking at John Podesta and Robbie Mook, the people who ran Clinton's campaign, and saying, how could you guys have lost? How could you guys possibly have lost this election? They concocted the excuse that Russian meddling was far greater than anybody had thought. Now, the intelligence community consistently before the election was saying Russia may try to disrupt things, but our systems are so secure they couldn't possibly. In fact, immediately after the election, they said Russia definitively did not hack any voting systems. They did not hack any digital election operations. The election was completely secure and therefore completely legit. Well, Podesta and Mook and the high levels of the Clinton campaign team, meanwhile, are saying, well, we got to come up with something or we will never work in politics again. They came up with Russia actually did influence Americans and pushed Trump, and there was nothing we could do. Well, that would be one thing, and people would say, okay, this is a ridiculous excuse. But then the Obama administration glommed onto this as well. Yes, it's not as though Barack Obama and his chosen successor Hillary were rejected by the American people. It's that those brain-dead racist hicks from flyover country were fooled by Russia propaganda. The only problem was the intelligence community had said the exact opposite. And at no point did they ever brief anyone, not the House, not the White House, not anyone, up until December of 2016, about the possibility that Russia was interfering in the election to try to get Trump elected. There was even an intelligence briefing on December 5th of 2016 that said that exact thing. Here's DNI Gabbard from this afternoon.
On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing. in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump.
And Trump would have undoubtedly used that briefing to say, look, the intelligence community says there was no Russian hacking. Why are we saying there was Russian hacking or there was Russian interference? So December 8th, there is an intelligence assessment that's pulled at the direction, we now know, of Barack Obama himself, who gathers his intelligence chiefs the very next day in the Oval Office, December 9th, 2016, to give new guidance and say, we are going to find a Russia conspiracy come hell or high water.
On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request.
This is critical. Clapper did not, ODNI refers to Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Clapper did not do this on his own. Brennan did not do this on his own. Comey did not do this on his own, nor did Susan Rice. This was directed specifically by the president, who said, look, we need to look into, wink, wink, the possibility that Russia didn't just try to hack voting machines, but hack voters' minds by, I don't know, posting some memes on Facebook.
The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts using one principal drafter.
That, by the way, is, as Gabbard will explain in just a second, very unusual. Why do you suppose there would only be 5 people involved in the collection of this data? Because they needed to control what data was included. They needed to control what evidence was presented, what intelligence was presented. Because if you have people from outside of this upper echelon of Obama intelligence people, they might say, hey, that Trump-Russia dossier is complete bunk. We can't include this.
This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met longstanding publication standards.
It was included anyway. Again, to advance this narrative, which already the wheels were in motion to start leaking this to the press, which started almost exactly a month later on January 6th, 2017, to get into the public's consciousness this idea that Trump was a Russian plant.
Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was quote-unquote unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's Oversight Report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected. Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, We assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him. End of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true.
In fact, you might recall, if you were listening in our opening segment here, where we started outlining all of the documents that were just released today, Putin apparently had all sorts of dirt on Hillary. Why was that never released as part of the effort to help Trump? According to intelligence that the Obama administration would have had at the time, the Russians were holding information that Hillary Clinton was on horse tranquilizers and had uncontrollable rage fits and had heart disease, COPD, type 2 diabetes, was about the least healthy person on earth. Why didn't they release that information? They had information implicating Hillary's State Department in a potential bribery scheme going to religious leaders, because Hillary, of course, did not have any religious leaders endorsing her, religious organizations, and saying, look, you will get some of the State Department's money. You wonder how much of that would have come from USAID back in 2016. If you endorse Hillary Clinton, you will get most favored nation status from the State Department, and we will get you much better funding. That's bribery. That is pay to play. If the objective was to elect Donald Trump, why wasn't any of this released? This is what Gabbard is saying. Now, is it possible that President Obama himself could face criminal charges? We'll discuss that possibility. Hear what Gabbard said about it when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns after this.
Dan O'Donnell.
About to get to Built Right today. Dan here for my friends at Built Right Furniture. Built Right's Made in America mattress celebration continues for a limited time. Their one location saves you time and money, and they make it easy to shop and easy to buy. Built Right beats any big box national or local chain store, employee-free store, online retailer, or warehouse club because they have the guaranteed lowest prices. Built Right has the best value selection and most experienced team, over 60 models and 500 mattresses in stock. Choose from the best mattress brands made in the USA: Heirloom, Therapeutic, Restonic, Schiffman, and Gold Bond. Built Right specializes in hard-to-find, flippable, and heavy-duty mattresses. Plus, Built Right offers free delivery and removal on mattress-only purchases of $799 or more. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday, they're closed to be with family. Tell them Dan sent you to Built Right at 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Hi, I'm Tom Detlich with Grandview Homes. Life can move fast or slow or somewhere in between. So when you want to sell your home, we're here to work on your schedule. Whether you need to close in 10 days or need more time to get things in order, we'll make it happen. We'll buy your home completely as is, no matter the condition. At Grandview Homes, we know your time is precious, and we won't waste it by giving you the runaround. Just a fair, guaranteed offer on your schedule. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com today.
When starting a new home project, the first step is the hardest to take. Hi, Colleen here with Tri-County Contracting. And with Tri-County Contracting, the first step is super easy. Go to tricountycontractingwi.com. You can fill out a short form requesting a free estimate. Amanda will give you a call and schedule a no-pressure appointment with you. Whether it's roofing, siding, windows, or all of the above, we have you covered. If you are looking for an even faster roof price, we also have our instant roof quote button. Name, address, and email address, and you have your price on the spot. Easy first step. Then, all the steps after that, we'll take care of those for you. Getting you an easy-to-read, clear proposal quickly comes next. Then we can help you pick colors using our showroom or project map on our website. We pull the permits, we take care of materials and disposal. Our trained and specialized crews and project managers take care of all the install and cleanup. For you, it's as easy as one step, and that step is easy. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Tri-County Contracting.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
Water running back to your foundation due to settling concrete can lead to extremely expensive foundation repairs. Even mold and bacteria in your home.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
Puts existing concrete back to grade, keeping water away from your foundation for a fraction of patio or driveway replacement cost.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
For a free estimate today.
MudTech, 262-337-0934.
Permanently fixes asphalt with state-of-the-art technology. Uneven sagging stairs and walkways are easily evened out for less than you are guessing with M to the U to the D to the T to the E to the C to the H.
262-337-0934.
The cost of having southeastern Wisconsin's premier concrete releveling and asphalt repair technicians at MudTech.
262-337-0934.
Restore your paved surfaces today is a fraction of the cost of replacement tomorrow. Call right now.
262-337-0934.
MudTechWorks.com.
I'm Total Health's Jay Johnson. The Falls and New Berlin. Additives, chemicals, and toxins in your diet can miswire the way your genes express themselves. Food is critical for health. Increased energy, better sleep, reversing chronic disease. A healthier, happier, pain-free you is simple. Schedule your free Total Health consult. Holistic health coaches will guide you to a healthier, happier, truly you. Seed oils, the #1 source of calories in American diets, were developed as fuel in industrial lubricants. Seed oils cause dozens of chronic illnesses. Big Healthcare solution to nutritional-related illness is their same solution to all health-related problems. Drugs that also alter the way your genes express themselves, leaving root causes, making you increasingly sick over time. What they never tell is eliminate seed oils from your diet, and cutting back on sugar will immediately improve your health. It's true. Total Health finds root causes of sickness, including nutritional deficiencies, then helps you, the whole complete you, achieve wellness. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com. That's TotalHealthInc.com.
Josh from Infinity here. The exterior remodeling industry is notorious for wild price disparities and hidden costs. Infinity has revolutionized the exterior remodeling experience. Our custom-built app is your window into our world of clear, accurate pricing.
MJ here. No more guesswork. No more unpleasant surprises. Every detail, all materials are clear for you to see. Absolute pricing transparency makes Infinity the most trusted roofing and exterior remodeling company in the Midwest.
We built Infinity on a foundation of integrity. More than installing roofs, siding, and windows, Infinity installs peace of mind, building lifelong relationships with our customers.
Infinity's proprietary app is an extension of our commitment, providing exact line item pricing, something unheard of in roofing and exterior remodeling.
Infinity's unmatched buying power saves you money. We pay less, you pay less. Infinity provides multiple budget options real time. Everything is at your fingertips, including financing options before we leave your home.
Warranted, guaranteed quality. Installing peace of mind. InfinityRoofing.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN. Conservative thought, not just talk.
You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
Not everyone is excited about the Band-Aid being ripped off, the long festering wound on American democracy that was the Russiagate hoax. Liberals are quite upset that anyone is daring to talk about anything other than the Jeffrey Epstein story that they ignored for 6 years and called conservatives stupid for believing in any sort of conspiracy theory about Epstein. In fact, I actually got a response to my reporting on Tulsi Gabbard's press conference this afternoon from a guy who I just learned a second ago is a talk radio host on WHBL radio in Sheboygan. And this response, ladies and gentlemen, was so intelligent. It was so insightful. It was so worthy of the WHBL Legacy Radio. This is the heritage radio station in Sheboygan. And one of its hosts by the name of Ben Caminos actually said something that is so intelligent. It is the most intelligent response Dan has gotten all day. You see, folks, we like to do this time and again to really class up this show because a lot of times liberals are a lot smarter and a lot classier than I am. And they give a response that is just so intelligent, I have to read it. And the only way you can really match the eloquence and the sheer brilliance of what comes out of their brains is in my best Shakespearean British accent. This is a tweet I got from WHBL radio host Ben Caminos responding to my reporting on the Russiagate scandal. Donald Trump is a P-word grabbing pedophile. Enjoy covering it up, shill. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the most intelligent response Dan has heard all day. DNI Gabbard was asked about the possibility that criminal charges against President Obama could potentially be referred to the Justice Department. She said, yeah, absolutely they could.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Now, about 3 years ago, it would have been unheard of to even talk about the possibility of referring a former president for criminal charges. My goodness. What unthinkable politicking. But then Trump faced 147,000 different criminal charges, 2 separate cases by the Biden Justice Department, another one in New York, which he was actually convicted of, and another one in Georgia, not one of which was based on any actual criminal conduct, as we have reported extensively for the past several years. But is this potentially criminal conduct by the president? The issue here is presidential immunity. Obama enjoys immunity that, say, DNI Clapper or John Brennan, the director of the CIA, or James Comey, the director of the FBI, do not have. And in fact, the Supreme Court affirmed in a case challenging one of those criminal cases against President Trump that if there is something that is related to the job of the presidency, the president does enjoy broad immunity. He can't, for example, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue because that's not related to the presidency, but he can sure as hell order a drone strike, which kills an American citizen. That wasn't Trump, by the way. That was Obama. But because it was part of the prosecution of the war on terror and thus related to the job of the president as commander-in-chief, President Obama enjoyed immunity from any potential prosecution for murder. Therefore, if Obama can claim a legitimate purpose in saying we need to launch this investigation into whether Russia was helping out Trump, then he is immune from prosecution. And in fact, my guess is that there will be an immunity defense raised if there is any sort of even whiff of the idea that the Department of Justice is prosecuting Obama. It would be my very strong prediction that Obama escapes criminal culpability, but that potentially Brennan and Comey and Clapper do not. Shall we lighten things up a bit? Ozzy Osbourne, Donald Trump, and an unhinged liberal. All coming up next.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington Total Traffic Center.
Southbound on 43, heavy delays from Silver Spring to Wright with a crash block in the right lane. Taking a half hour from Brown Deer to the Marquette and on to 4394 southbound from there, another 7 to the Mitchell interchange. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Verdict with Ted Cruz Podcast.
I'm Ben Ferguson. And I'm Ted Cruz. 6 months into the Trump term, and we have won historic conservative victories. From securing the border to defeating Iran to the one big beautiful bill. We give you all the details.
Download Verdict with Ted Cruz wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Willa Voss. I'm 8 years old. Mom and Dad own Cut and Go Tree Service. Yes, they did name me after a tree. Our family loves this country and the freedom it provides. Every morning, I look forward to starting the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please say it along with me, even if you just say it in your mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. American patriots will enjoy a 5% discount for flying the American flag and mentioning this commercial when the Cut and Go remote control, automobile mounted, articulated crane, grapple saw operators are putting your dead trees on the ground or removing large branches that grew over something important. An all-American Tons of Trees movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CutandGoTrees.com.
Warshawski trial attorney Frank Crivello here.
Folks, I'm Victor Harding. Frank is selected Best Lawyers 2024 Complex Litigation Lawyer of the Year.
More impressive is Victor Harding named Product Liability Attorney of the Year again for 2024.
It may sound boastful to mention these prestigious awards.
It's not boastful considering if you or someone you love is injured, you need to know 2 attorneys from the same personal injury firm being chosen by other lawyers and judges for these caliber of awards is very rare.
Heaven forbid you ever need an injury claim made on your behalf. If you do, the quality of your attorney and law firm will have a greater impact on the outcome than even the facts of your case.
Former clients, other lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers, and even insurance adjusters,
often our adversaries,
refer their family and friends to Warshawski because they know Warshawski will achieve maximum compensation.
Injured? It is about the money.
Warshawski.com.
That's Warshawski.com.
With warmer weather arriving, we all know our energy bills will be spiking right along with the temperatures. Your money will be flying out of your home faster than that expensive cold air you paid for. Hi, it's Jay Weber from my friends at Semperfi Roofing with a tip on how to beat the heat. The 2 main areas that a home loses cool air are from your roof and your windows, and those are the 2 areas that Semperfi specializes in. They offer a free 21-point roof and window inspection to find out if they're causing your AC unit to work harder, which can double or even triple your energy bills. Yes, it's free, and there will be no high-pressure sales tactics afterward. Usually, an inexpensive repair can fix any problems they may find, but if it's time for a new roof, you can get $500 off of your project, plus no interest and no payment financing until 2027. So set up your free, no-obligation 21-point roof and window inspection today. 262-600-2910. That's 600-2910, or online at SemperfiRoofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
When it's 94 degrees inside and you've melted to the couch,
and the dog has claimed the fridge,
and the ice cubes have melted themselves out of misery,
and you've started naming your sweat beads,
then it's officially time to call Capital. We offer same-day air conditioning service 7 days a week.
And for a limited time, all our AC service calls are free when we make the repair.
Just call Capital. We'll bring back the brrr.
Old-fashioned service you can't go wrong. Call CapitalCares.com.
Get your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval to buy at ACCUNET.com.
We all remember that one teacher who made a difference, who believed in us, challenged us, made learning fun. Now's your chance to say thank you in a big way. iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose, celebrating the incredible impact of public school educators. Nominate an outstanding teacher in your life who's gone above and beyond for their students to be among the winners of $5,000 to stock their classroom. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future. Get all the info and nominate a teacher who goes the extra mile today at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Teachers often make a difference in our lives or the lives of our kids. Here's a chance to do something great for a local public school teacher. Nominate him or her in the iHeartRadio Thank a Teacher Powered by Donors Choose program. Nominated teachers will be in a random drawing to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
The Daily Trump Date kicks off our 4 o'clock hour big trade deal with Japan. Also, what does President Trump think on the newly declassified Tulsi Gabbard material about Russiagate? We will get into that and much, much more, quite possibly the single greatest take on Stephen Colbert's cancellation comes from The View and Sunny Hostin, who thinks it is an affront to democracy itself. Now, you might be asking yourself, loyal Dan O'Donnell Show listener, Dan, that sounds pretty darn unhinged. How is Sunny Hostin not the unhinged liberal of the day? Because I may have found the single most unhinged liberal of the entire month.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
Does that make me crazy? All white people are racist. Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
America is over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is, in fact, an anonymous TikToker who, well, was very upset that God answered her prayers to kill a white man, just not the correct white man.
When we said take the white man, the old white man, I meant Trump, not Ozzy.
Yeah, so she seems nice. She's got her head together. Real big fan of paranoid war pigs. I think her favorite Ozzy song, though, has to be Crazy Train.
When we said take the white man, the old white man, I meant Trump, not Ozzy.
She's single, folks. Can you believe that? She is your unhinged liberal of the day. So the Brewers finally fall 1-0 to the Seattle Mariners. I actually stayed up late to watch that one. The Brewers are very likely to get a win today. They're playing in the bottom of the 6th right now to wrap up that series in Seattle. They are up 6-2. Could have used some of that offense last night when free burgers were at stake. But the bottom line is, even though the Brewers lost, they are by far the hottest team in baseball. They still sit a half game ahead of the Chicago Cubs for sole possession of first place in the NL Central. They still do have the best record in baseball. They're winning at a .594 clip. Since June 1st, they are winning 70% of their games. That's almost unbelievable to keep that up over a nearly 2-month stretch, but the Brewers have done it. Jacob Misiorowski was fantastic. Do I disagree with the decision to pull him? No, absolutely not. He was clearly on a 65 pitch count, and manager Pat Murphy did what was best for the balance of the season and a young pitcher's career. Fireballers especially have a tendency to blow their arms out early, so a rigid pitch count is probably very good, even if it wasn't the best thing for our free burgers. Daily Trump Date coming up next when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Benjamin Yount, weekday mornings 9 to 11 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
He'll die in prison. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Sentencing day for the man who killed 4 University of Idaho students in 2022.
Count 2, first-degree murder of Madison Mogen. I sentenced the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
District Judge Stephen Hippler giving Brian Koberger a life sentence for each victim after the killer sat nearly motionless and expressionless as loved ones wept through impact statements, some calling Koberger a coward.
You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now look at you, begging a courtroom for scraps.
The sister of Kaylee Goncalves telling him he's a pathetic wannabe. Koberger did not make a statement. He waived his right to appeal under the plea deal that spared him a possible death sentence. In Wisconsin, a missing grad student is found dead. The body of Elliot Hines pulled out of the Mississippi River about 10 miles downstream from where she went missing Sunday in La Crosse.
She was last seen in a bar called Broncos downtown about 2:30 in the morning. She left to walk home. 15 minutes later, security camera recorded her walking past the river. And until her body was found, the only trace that they had found of Elliot, the mother said that her cell phone was found. But she was 22 years old. She was a graduate student at the local university studying mental health.
Fox's Mike Tobin, her cause of death still under investigation. The White House and Justice Department dismissing a Wall Street Journal report that President Trump was told in May his name is in the Jeffrey Epstein files. DOJ says the president was briefed on the finding that no further investigation or prosecution was warranted, also emphasizing the administration's efforts to unseal records related to the late sex offender. Today, a judge in Florida ruling transcripts of grand jury investigations could not be released. America is listening to Fox News.
A few chances for some showers and thunderstorms this morning. Otherwise, that'll be clearing out, giving us partly sunny skies, hot and humid conditions. A heat advisory is in effect from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. with heat indices that could be up to 105. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Lisa Michaels.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop Grand Appliance for extended July 4th specials on top brands like LG. Plus, get hundreds in additional savings you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local Grand showroom. That's Grand Appliance. Appliance experts since 1930.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Dan here. Stay cool and stylish this summer with Bayview Shade and Blind. Since 1926, they've been helping Wisconsin homes shine with custom shades, blinds, drapery, and shutters. Appointments are filling up fast, so call Bayview Shade and Blind today.
I'm Eric Krolowitz from Good Health Saunas. Check out Good Health Saunas' massive display at the Wisconsin State Fair, July 31st through August 10th. See every model be set up, feel them, touch them, try them out, and compare to find the ideal sauna for you and the entire family. Attendees will receive huge discounts on our show display floor models. Come early, they always sell out. GoodHealthSaunas.com or 365 days a year at 2242 West Blue Mound Road in Waukesha next to Home Depot. That's GoodHealthSaunas.com.
The Brewers return from the break with a jam-packed week of action. First up, a summer battle with the Marlins, July 25th through the 27th. Come for the action, stay for Pokemon Go Day on Friday the 25th and a Bryce Terang bobblehead on Saturday the 26th, presented by Wintrust, Wisconsin's bank. Then it's time to battle back when the Crew takes on the Cubs for 3 games starting on July 28th. Get tickets for a week of Brewers action you don't want to miss at Brewers.com.
Homeowners across Wisconsin trust WeatherPro Exteriors for the best in roofing, siding, windows, and doors. Voted Milwaukee's 2024 top choice. We are proud to deliver the highest quality and service. Right now, get $1,000 off a full roof replacement, plus a $200 quick trip gift card. Your home is your biggest investment. Make sure it's protected with top quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors built to last. Visit weatherproexteriors.com today.
For superior carpet cleaning, hire a company with over 75 years of experience that will get the job done right the first time. Always clean, always on time. Edelman.
Edelman Carpet, Furniture, and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman. Alleviate your pain. Rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex.com. WISN Milwaukee.
So I got to open the 4 o'clock hour with a quick correction. I misidentified what radio station Ben Caminos, the talk radio host who hosts the program Outside the Box, formerly hosted by Mitch Henk, very talented broadcaster. Our Madison listeners will remember him well. I said he was on WHBL radio. That is incorrect. He is on WHBY radio. WHBY radio, not WHBL radio. Yeah, it's in the Fox Valley. WHBY is in the Fox Valley. WHBL is in Sheboygan. I'm pretty sure they broadcast out of Sheboygan, and they have pretty much conservative bent. They are a very, very good radio station. They have a simulcast as well. WHBY. You can see how it's easy to make that mistake. And also, I just heard of the guy this afternoon. So I happened to see his tweet, which we used as the most intelligent response Dan has gotten all day. A lot of people love that segment. I try to do it as often as I can. Whenever I see a lib just spew unmitigated bile, I have to poke fun at it. It is in my nature. I try to turn everything into a joke. Why? Because it's funny that way. Sizzling Summer Cash Contest. Word this hour is cash. C-A-S-H, cash. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword cash. Your entry is picked at random, $1,000 cash in your pocket. You want to join the Dan O'Donnell Show? Give us a call. Shoot us a text at 414-799-1130. That's our AdventNews.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me, DOD@iHeartMedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show, across social media, on the gram, on X, on Facebook, and we are streaming as well on our YouTube channel. Look, we realize that you have a busy day, work, taking care of kids, maybe you're on summer vacation. You don't have the time to study the Trump White House and keep tabs on every single thing they do each day. Well, we here at the Dan O'Donnell Show do, and that's why we bring to you each and every day at about 4 o'clock the Daily Trump Date.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Well, a whole lot of winning for the Trump administration.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
President Trump announcing a massive trade deal with Japan, a deal he called the biggest in this country's history.
But I just signed the largest trade deal in history. I think maybe the largest deal in history with Japan. And that was done with Japan. They had their top people here, and we worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody. I always say it has to be great for everybody. It's a great deal. A lot different from the deals in the past, I can tell you that. But we're doing really well as a country. We're strong. We have a lot of money flowing in. The tariffs are kicked in better than anybody other than me and a few of the people in the room thought could happen, Howard and Scott. And I just want to thank you. You've been unbelievable allies, because you're really allies. That's what you've been, and we appreciate it.
The president posting on Truth Social today as sort of an enticement for other countries to follow Japan's and Indonesia's and Vietnam's leads in the last couple of days, signing big trade agreements to avoid the August 1st deadline for crippling tariffs. President Trump saying, I will also always give up tariff points if I can get major countries to open their markets to the USA. Another great power of tariffs. Without them, it would be impossible to get countries to open up. Always zero tariffs to America. As you heard, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of National Intelligence, presenting today concrete evidence, she says, that President Obama directed the Russiagate hoax, doctoring intelligence in order to create the false impression that Russia influenced the 2016 presidential election to try to throw it to President Trump. During the White House press briefing today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded.
I can speak to the president's feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies.
That's actually an incredible point. The media was not just duped. This wasn't like the wool was pulled over their eyes. They were willing participants in what anyone with half a brain had to know. Just did not make any sense. That Russia, for some reason, wanted Donald Trump to win, and they concocted this dossier. It just never passed the smell test. But for years, even now, there are leftists who are going on television news networks to promote what is widely known to be a hoax. They are still disseminating misinformation. Also today, the Trump White House unveiled America's AI action plan, according to the introduction to the highly detailed plan for artificial intelligence use and regulation in this country. America's AI action plan has 3 pillars: innovation, infrastructure, and international diplomacy and security. The U.S. needs to innovate faster and more comprehensively than our competitors in the development and distribution of new AI technology across every field, and dismantle unnecessary regulatory barriers that hinder the private sector in doing so. The Trump administration has recognized the incredible potential that artificial intelligence technology has, and President Trump has repeatedly stated that he wants America to be the world's AI hub. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your look at the Trump White House in your daily Trump Date. All right, this soundbite is simply too good. From The View, I believe it was actually yesterday, just came across my desk today. Sonny Hostin, who is no stranger to the unhinged liberal of the day here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, had quite the take on Stephen Colbert getting his show canceled by CBS, saying that would herald the death of the old republic.
It could be financial, and I don't know that it's purely political. It could be, but my concern is if it is political, then everyone should be concerned. People on the right should be concerned. People on the left should be concerned, because it's very clear that if it is political, this is the dismantling of our democracy. This is the dismantling of our Constitution, right? And so the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason, and that is freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom to speak truth to power. If that is taken away, if the comedians are being attacked, then that means our Constitution is being dismantled. Right. That means the very rubric of our democracy is being dismantled.
Yeah, tell that to that poor radio clown who lost his job because he wore a Barack Obama mask. Remember that days-long scandal? The Stephen Colbert Show wasn't pulled from the air because of politics. It was rather obviously kept on the air because of politics. It was losing $50 million a year. The only thing more unbelievable than the Fed needing $2.5 billion to repair its building is CBS spending $100 million a year on a show that essentially amounts to a dude sitting at a desk with a band and the occasional guest, most of whom were hardcore leftist Democrats, probably the reason that people weren't tuning in. If he was making money, not only would he be on the air, he would be making far more than his reported $15 to $20 million salary. Case in point, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They just signed a deal with Paramount to have South Park episodes air on Paramount Plus, the streaming service. They bought roughly 30 years of the South Park franchise. I believe it's the second longest running sitcom TV show behind only The Simpsons. It's been on since 1996, 1997, somewhere in there. I was watching it when I was a kid, for goodness sakes. That's how old South Park is. Their syndication deal with Paramount Plus calls for them only to release 10 new episodes per year. But they're going to get $1.5 billion just for the streaming rights to South Park. Now, why did South Park succeed beyond anybody's wildest expectations, whereas Stephen Colbert did not? South Park is every bit as political, or at least every bit as topical as a nightly comedy show, because it's an equal opportunity offender. Because it will make fun of anyone and anything because it's funny. It doesn't pull punches against Donald Trump. Although for a while there was a thing. Do you remember when everyone thought that the South Park guys were secret conservatives? And there was a whole thing called South Park conservatives in the early 2000s. No, they're, standard issued liberal Democrats or maybe libertarians. I don't know their political leanings, nor do I care, because they put on a consistently hilarious show. Do I watch it very often? No. You know why? Because I don't watch all that much TV at all, especially in the summertime. Do you realize it's been almost a month since they released the new Squid Game, the final season of Squid Game? I am a huge fan of Squid Game. My son and I have not been able to coordinate our schedules to be able to watch Squid Game together. So I have not been able to watch what I consider to be one of my favorite shows on TV now. It's how little I watch TV. Comedy should have a goal to be funny. It should not have a goal to promote one political ideology or one political party. Stephen Colbert's show was a nightly reminder, with the guests that it had on, with the alleged jokes that Colbert told, that 50% of the potential audience was simply not welcome. This is not a show for you. And by the way, when did people like the transportation secretary become guests on a late night show? It used to be that on Leno or on Carson, they would have on some political figure if there was some funny thing that they did. And the opening monologue, the jokes of the day, were invariably at the expense of the president, whomever that might have been at the time. But the idea of talking to political figures instead of a movie star pitching it, you're telling me you couldn't get Scarlett Johansson on to talk about the new Jurassic Park movie? You're telling me you couldn't find some comedian who I'm sure would tell anti-Trump jokes? But that was the premise for decades, going back to Steve Allen, for goodness sakes. Colbert really this all goes back to Jon Stewart. It all goes back to The Daily Show. Just smug, condescending liberalism in which there might be a joke, there might be a punchline told, there might not be. A guy who actually does that very, very well is John Oliver over on HBO. Last week tonight, his monologues, I mean, he's very liberal, but his monologues will be both insightful and they will be hilarious. He did one on paying athletes that was hysterical, pointing out the hypocrisy of the NCAA. This was obviously years ago. He did another one on Alex Jones, which wasn't about Alex Jones's conspiracy theories, but rather the truly bizarre products that he pitches. His health line, he's got like mineral products that he shills for it. It was hysterical. It was absolutely hysterical. That's the sort of line that I think you need to walk. Colbert couldn't, because when he had better writers over on the Colbert Report, when he was on Comedy Central, he was able to play a character that was endearing. It was a buffoonish conservative in which he was able to lampoon Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh and whomever else, but he did so in a way that actually felt loving. It actually felt as though, okay, there's at least a wink, wink, nod, nod. We still want conservatives watching. What Jon Stewart did, and you might recall Jon Stewart during the Bush administration, was considered by the left to be one of the most important voices in media, if not the most important, because Democrats have long realized that if you're able to turn your political opponent into a punchline, into a laughingstock, you've won the battle. Gerald Ford, Division I football star at Michigan, because he tripped once. The parody of him on Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase falling all over the place, that was implanted in the public's consciousness. How about trying to think who else? Oh, the most recent example, Sarah Palin, Saturday Night Live. Tina Fey, who just happened to look exactly like Sarah Palin, played her and said, "I can see Russia from my house." Her portrayal of Palin as just a complete rube was the thing that took. Palin was a political phenomenon until the media got its hands on her, and she was admittedly not particularly concerned with, shall we say, policy details. But the left knew it had to destroy her. The most effective way that it had was SNL, was turning her into a punchline, turning her into a joke. Why do you think when Kamala Harris first seized the Democrat nomination last August, the big thing was Trump and Vance are so weird. They're just weird. Look at his beard. He's so weird. It's because they were trying to get that level of ostracization. They were trying to get them to turn into a punchline. Now, meanwhile, the objectively weirdest man to ever appear on a presidential ticket, I think, is Tim Walz. The man is just an oddball. I'm sorry, but it's true. The kicking like one of the Radio City Rockettes every time he's on stage, like grabbing hands with somebody and then just kicking out his legs like he's a prancing fairy, did not show well. And he was supposed to get the guy vote. He was supposed to get the macho man vote for the Dems. That worked out so well. But there's a way to do comedy, and South Park has 1.5 billion pieces of evidence that it can work. Where look at one of the most famous episodes of South Park in recent years was lampooning Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. How many people who have seen South Park know exactly what I am going to say next? What did they say in the episode? We want our privacy. It stuck because it was just funny. It didn't rely on cheap clapter lines that aren't necessarily humorous, but that are designed to elicit an emotional response of approval from an overwhelmingly liberal audience. it's designed to get laughs. If Colbert got actual laughs, like South Park gets laughs, well, then maybe he would get $1.5 billion too. Coming up next, President Trump speaking right now at the AI Summit. We'll try to dip into that and talk about artificial intelligence next.
The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to newstalk1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
From the Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha Total Traffic Center.
Southbound on the Rock Freeway, you're doing okay all the way down to Highway 164. In Walworth County, though, past Highway 67, you got an accident reported as a rollover thanks to a traffic tip line caller. Solid delays back to US 12. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Prices are up, but your comfort doesn't have to wait. At First Choice Heating and Cooling, pay $0 now and 0 interest for 12 months. Lock in today's price and stay cool all summer. Milwaukee's heat's no joke. Call First Choice now.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
September 19th and 20th, streaming live only on Hulu. 15 artists, 2 nights, 1 stage. Get tickets now at AXS.com.
Capital One is the proud presenting partner of iHeartRadio Music Festival, bringing great products, rewards, and services to its customers. What's in your wallet?
I'm Victor Harding, a true trial attorney at Warshevsky Law. You've heard our advertising for years. While it's been effective introducing Warshevsky to injured people in need of maximum judgments and settlements, most of our clients come from personal referral. Referrals from former clients grateful for the settlement or trial judgment Warshevsky won on their behalf. Thus, they're recommending us to friends and family. Referrals from people in the community, including other lawyers and judges who want to make sure their friends and family are taken care of. Still not sure? Ask around. Warshevsky is referred by Wisconsin law enforcement officers who've seen Warshevsky attorneys in action, desperate to make sure friends and family receive just compensation. Insurance adjusters, often our adversaries, refer their family members hurt in accidents. They know the work we do. They all refer Warshevsky because big case or small, we can help. If someone you love is injured, please let them know, because at the end of their ordeal, their injury is about the money. Warshevsky.com.
Real feedback from Brookfield and Mequon's Reset Restore MD patient.
My daughter's intravenous ketamine treatments made a significant difference in just 2 weeks.
R&R for Relief, Reset Restore MD, rnrmd.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Blunt force from an honest man. The Jay Weber Show, weekday morning 6 to 9 on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. President Trump is speaking at the AI Summit in Washington, D.C., hours after unveiling his artificial intelligence action plan. Let's join the president, already in progress, here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Hear what he has to say.
On each side of it. But it was a great experience, frankly, for me, and hopefully it's a great experience and been a great experience for our country, because they're saying we had the greatest 6 months that a president has ever had, the opening 6 months. And I'm not even sure, maybe 6 months. I'm not sure it's the opening, but let's call it the opening 6 months. It sounds a little bit nicer. I want to also say hello and thank to Chamath and his wonderful wife, Nat. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. It was great seeing you again. Great couple. David Friedberg and even, as we know, Jason Calacanis. I say even. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Even Jason Calacanis.
Thank you, Jason.
Everybody loves Jason Calacanis.
Yeah, he's a good person. Thanks
He is
as well
a good
to
person.
the Hill and Valley Forum and our future Undersecretary of State, Jacob Hellberg. Good. Stand up, Jason. Good. I met him a year and a half ago, and I was very impressed. I said, let's bring him in. We're bringing a lot of smart people. And David's been unbelievable as the job he's doing. Along with
Okay. When President Trump starts getting into the substance of his remarks and not just saying thank you to everybody, now he's thanking Doug Burgum, who just stood up. I could spot those eyebrows from a mile away. I could actually tell. I'm going to try. I can't hear anything, but I think just based on when President Trump's face, I have watched so many Trump speeches. I think I can tell the exact moment when he is going to get into the substance of his speech. He's still thanking people because he's got that little lighthearted smirk on his face. He's got the smile. He's going to get started in just a second. What he is going to announce is what was already released digitally was basically an action plan. In one of his first executive actions, President Trump ordered what was released today, and that is a plan to make America the world's leader in artificial intelligence. This is clearly the biggest technology possibly ever. And people say, well, even bigger than the internet, Dan, give me a break. Yes, actually, even bigger than the internet. And what the president's plan unveiled today is going to do is to fast track the infrastructure development as well as the approval process for domestic chip making, for broadband centers, for data centers. There is going to be, and I don't think people quite grasp this, such an incredible demand for electricity and for power that you are going to need to have a huge amount of red tape cut in order to get what may end up being private nuclear reactors next to some of these massive data centers. All right. I see on the president's face, he is now into the substance of his speech. Should we check in with what Trump is saying? Let's go.
Who's the head of all of you've got the land and he's got the energy.
My
right?
goodness.
They formed a great partnership.
He's still giving thank yous.
So
see, I'm normally pretty good. Let's see, is he still in the thank yous?
They work hand in hand and they have done a great job. Administrators, Kelly Loeffler, I think, is here. Kelly, thank you very much. Hi, Kelly.
Man, see, I pride myself on being able to read Trump's
probably the most important
nonverbals.
And they say it.
All right, let's hear. Who's the most important man in the room?
And Doug and Chris and all that energy they're producing. He's a man that produces fast permits on the environmental impact statements. He gets them done. I said, Lee, you have 1 week for nuclear, and you have a couple of days for oil and gas, okay, for the approvals. And we kid, but he really is. He's knocking them out fast. He's knocked out a lot. A lot of you guys have started your plants already.
Lee Zeldin. Apparently, President Trump is very, very high on Lee Zeldin, the former New York member of Congress who became the EPA administrator, and is just getting high marks across the administration. You can hear in his remarks here just how much Trump likes Lee Zeldin. All right, let's pot this down again. Producer Eric, who is monitoring this and trying to see just how good I am at gathering when Trump is going to stop with the introductions and start substance, said he did actually get into the substance for a little bit and is now back to the thank yous. No, he's still doing thank yous. I can tell just by the look on the man's face. The part of the plan that is also going to be one of the major drivers of AI development is going to be tax credits and incentives for training and upskilling the workforce that will be, using AI. As the CEO of NVIDIA said about a week or so ago, you're not going to lose your job to an AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody using an AI. Ergo, you need to be incredibly proficient at using this technology. Now, the action plan also includes guidelines for the potential misuse of AI. The biggest one is the possibility of better and better deep fakes. There's sort of a long-running joke that every single technological advance was made possible by pornography. Because if pornography can be viewed or disseminated via a technological advance, that advance is going to become ubiquitous. Sure enough, from VHS to the internet, which was the biggest thing to happen to pornography since the breast, AI has an incredible dark side in its ability to create images almost instantly of any human being you can imagine. If you want to have, say, I don't know, Donald Trump, how many cartoons were drawn? How many things were done during the Russiagate scandal of Trump doing all manner of unholy things to Russia's President Vladimir Putin? Well, now you could get hyper photorealistic imagery of that sort of stuff. Now, what if it's not Donald Trump, but what if it's your ex-girlfriend? That's a big, big problem. Not to mention the possibility of impacting political discourse, impacting elections, costing people their careers. What if, just for the sake of arguments, that CEO from the AI company who got fired over the weekend because he was having an affair that got caught at the Coldplay concert, let's say it wasn't actually him. Let's say it was a deep fake. What then? As Mark Twain very famously said, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put its pants on. Imagine if things move at the speed of artificial intelligence. So obviously, it is a good thing to have, and I've spent part of the day kind of reading through what these guidelines are and what is and is not permissible use of artificial intelligence. Because if there's one thing I know, whether it's fraudsters, whether it's pornographers, whether it's any of the world's bad actors, it's that they will appropriate technology for evil ends. And that's why it's beyond necessary to have those guidelines in place. All right, now I can tell President Trump is saying something of substance. Let's go back to him at the AI summit.
And we're going to send it to them, and they'll distribute the equipment that we send. So that's the way it should have been 3 years ago, frankly. And Jeff Sprecher, the other half of that incredible
My goodness, he's still doing thank yous.
He's a fantastic guy, international, intercontinental exchange, and he's been a friend of mine for.
Turns out I don't know Trump's nonverbals as well as I thought I did. We're going to step aside here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. There's a government-run grocery store in Kansas City. Take a wild guess how it's doing. That next.
Keep in touch with Dan on Twitter at Dan O'Donnell Show. More of the show next.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
43 northbound from the Marquette to Brown Deer, 14 minutes. Southbound takes you about 20. And Walworth County, rollover crash cleanup southbound on the Rock Freeway past Highway 67, solid back to US 12. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop Grand Appliance for extended July 4th specials on top brands like LG. Plus, get hundreds in additional savings you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local Grand showroom. That's Grand Appliance. Appliance experts since 1930.
For many of us, the most important part of our routine between 6 and 9 weekday mornings is to listen to every minute of the Jay Weber Show on WISN. Sadly, sometimes less important elements of our lives get in the way, such as work, children, and bathing. Don't despair. The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to newstalk1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
Bob built a brand over the same 20 years iNet has. I bought multiple properties over those years. Bob gets real estate like I never will.
In real estate, every brokerage does the same thing. MLS. Adding auction bidding to MLS, I knew if iNet branded it, told our story, home sellers would understand and accept this real estate revolutionizing platform.
You can be the best in your industry like Redefined Realty is. Even revolutionize your industry like Redefined Realty has with auction. Yet it's your story that sells.
You can't tell your story as well as iNet Creative Genius will tell your story.
Real Estate for Winners is exactly what Redefined Realty and Auction has always been.
Steven knocked our brand and marketing out of the park.
Selling a home? If you don't use Redefine's MLS and auction platform, you'll leave closing with less money than you would have. Tragic and that simple.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. iNet is improving marketing for winners.
iNetJustWeb.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Real Estate for Winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
I'm Dan Voss from Cut and Go. Ugly and depressing and trees killed off by emerald ash, oak wilt, and Dutch elm disease are dangerous for friends and loved ones, even a potential liability. Slowly rotting, left-standing hardwood trees can weigh tens of thousands of pounds. Even seemingly smaller branches can weigh tens, even hundreds of pounds. With Cut and Go, there is no reason to risk injury or property damage. Live trees in precarious placement for an arborist to remove over homes, garages, commercial buildings, luxury landscapes are easily and safely laid on the ground by Cut and Go's NCCER crane-operated certified remote control automobile mounted articulating crane grapple saw operators. You can save big money and stock up on firewood by having Cut and Go put your trees on the ground for you to clean up or have a bonfire or split firewood, or we can take it all with us when we leave. A Tons of Trees movement. Cut and Go trees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Once again, that's cutandgotrees.com.
Bank and Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368. Don't settle for a flimsy bank pre-approval. Get the pre-approval listing agents and sellers recognized as better than the rest. The rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet. Get yours by clicking on the blue button at ACCUNET.com.
With warmer weather arriving, we all know our energy bills will be spiking right along with the temperatures. Your money will be flying out of your home faster than that expensive cold air you paid for. Hi, it's Jay Weber from my friends at Semperfi Roofing with a tip on how to beat the heat. The two main areas that a home loses cool air are from your roof and your windows, and those are the two areas that Semperfi specializes in. They offer a free 21-point roof and window inspection to find out if they're causing your AC unit to work harder, which can double or even triple your energy bills. Yes, it's free, and there will be no high-pressure sales tactics afterward. Usually, an inexpensive repair can fix any problems they may find, but if it's time for a new roof, you can get $500 off of your project, plus no interest and no payment financing until 2027. So set up your free, no-obligation 21-point roof and window inspection today. 262-600-2910. That's 600-2910. Or online at SemperfiRoofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
Get back to the ballpark for Brewers action against the Marlins July 25th through the 27th. The second half of the season kicks off with Pokemon Go Day on the 25th and a Bryce Terang Bobble on the 26th. Get seats today at Brewers.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
For safe, purified water right from your faucet, the solution is crystal clear.
Any project, big or small, when it comes to water, one call does it all. S&K, Pump and Plumbing.
Nominate your favorite local public school teacher in the iHeartRadio Thank a Teacher powered by Donors Choose program. They'll be entered in a random drawing to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
No radio handy? No problem. Listen to WISN's live audio stream 24/7 via the web. Just click on the Listen Online tab at newstalk1130.com. Conservative thought. Not just talk. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
I don't know what's more remarkable, that people would actually think a government-owned and effectively operated grocery store would be successful, or that local media would report on its failure. As Zohran Mamdani, the guy who is very, very likely to be the next mayor of New York City, a 33-year-old socialist, as he basically promotes the idea that in urban food deserts, areas where there just aren't a whole lot of grocery stores and people don't have access to fresh, healthy food, that the city government should come in and have government-owned grocery stores in some of these high-crime areas. You know exactly why. You can't have a grocery store in one of these areas because it can't make money with all of the loss that it gets through retail theft. This is why Walgreens will shut down. In San Francisco, everybody saw the photos and videos of everything in the Walgreens. I was actually in San Francisco a few years back. Wonderful city, shockingly, at least the touristy areas that I visited with my 2 young children. I went into a Walgreens to get something or other. I don't even remember. Everything was locked up. I mean, you had to get a store attendant to get anything. This was 2023. It's even worse now. When those stores are able to survive, when liberal governments decriminalize shoplifting, as San Francisco's and California's governments did over the past several years, that's what they have to do. Most stores, most chains, grocery stores, pharmacies, clothing stores, they'll just leave because they can't absorb the loss. Then, of course, the leftists who promote the policies that lead to these stores leaving, whether it's high taxation, whether it's the refusal to prosecute criminals who target these stores or whatever it is, they then blame the greedy corporations. And they say, well, what we need is government to step in and provide the basic services and goods that people need. In Kansas City, a grocery store co-op was opened in a shopping center that the government of Kansas City owns. They have a nonprofit organization actually running the grocery store, but it is owned by the government. There was just a report last night on the news that the store has completely bare shelves.
It's clear the Sunfresh at 31st and Prospect is struggling. This is the first section people see when they come in. There's barely any produce. A lot of the coolers and shelves around the store look the same way, empty. So shoppers have been asking us, if the store isn't closing, then where's all the food?
A rotten smell comes through the door, and anywhere you turn, you'll see products that need to be restocked. No hot food or deli.
I watch people walk in and walk out.
The city owns the Linwood Shopping Center. A nonprofit operates the grocery store.
That is reporter Alyssa Jackson with KSHB in Kansas City. There was apparently a tip from a viewer that the grocery store had not stocked either vegetables or eggs in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks! KSHB looked into this and reached out to the city of Kansas City, which owns the Linwood Shopping Center where Sunfresh is located. They contracted with a nonprofit called Community Builders KC to run the grocery store. KSHB did not hear back from Community Builders KC prior to the publication of this story. The mayor's office sent the station a statement about whether the city has plans to step in and consider, yes, additional funding, because that's all government incompetence needs. It's just more money to fritter away. Mayor Lucas in Kansas City remained deeply committed to access to healthy food on the Prospect Corridor. The city will work closely with store ownership and all neighborhood stakeholders to support the long-term viability of the store based on normal revenues from customers and area consumers. Every single time government ownership of something like a grocery store, it is inevitable. Failure of government ownership of the means of production is perpetually doomed to failure because government does not operate with the same profit motive that the private sector does, and therefore is not motivated to stock shelves or provide even the most basic level of service. Seriously, go to kshb.com and take a look at some of these pictures. When they say empty shelves and empty refrigerators and freezers, they mean it. There is nothing in this store. It's almost like you'll see after a hurricane where everybody is stocked up, or if there's looting during a race riot or something like that. That's what this looks like. And it's not a riot. It's not a hurricane. It's just the devastation of government ownership. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show, conservative thought, not just talk.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Eastbound on 94, taking about 17 minutes from Moreland to the Marquette. Jam from the Zoo interchange to 84th with a crash block in the left lane. Little break before you're slow again from 76 to the stadium. Westbound taking you 18 minutes. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Prices are up, but your comfort doesn't have to wait. At First Choice Heating and Cooling, pay zero now and zero interest for 12 months. Lock in today's price and stay cool all summer. Milwaukee's heat's no joke. Call First Choice now.
Dan O'Donnell here with my friend Daniel from Bayview Shade and Blind. Daniel, I love the work you guys did at our new home, and more importantly, my wife loves it too.
Appreciate that, Dan. We work with folks who really value having a trusted guide to walk them through the whole process, from choosing the right window treatments to professional installation. That's how we do it at Bayview Shade.
And you know what, Daniel? It really shows. Go to bayviewshade.com. They're sharing a little sunshine from their family to yours for 99 years.
Imagine your home totally organized. At Closets by Design, we specialize in providing affordable, custom-built storage solutions with built-ins and beyond. From walk-in closets to new laundry rooms and pantries, our experienced designers work within your budget to design a solution fit perfectly to your needs. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% with 18-month financing. Visit closetsbydesign.com or call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to get started. Let's get organized together.
You've got an app for music, an app for photos, maybe even one that helps you sleep. But only one app puts the live radio dial in your pocket and lets you save your favorite stations, playlists, and podcasts as presets. Get the free iHeartRadio app, the #1 app for radio.
We're the Libby family
at Do-It-Yourself Bathroom Center near State Fair on 62nd and Greenfield.
For over 41 years, we've helped Wisconsin folks create beautiful, affordable, and durable bathrooms.
You'll get our expert guidance and long-lasting quality products.
And nobody beats our prices.
I did it myself at Do-It-Yourself.
Jay here. I love hearing about how satisfied customers are with engine and transmission exchange. Carolyn says she was very pleased from the first call that she placed. She says, professionals you can trust. I highly recommend them for any services they offer. Yep. And ETE's people really will go over and above for you, especially when parts aren't immediately available. Aaron needed a new transmission and says, I was told 10 days, but they got it done in 4. They had one on hand. Well, I should hope so. Engine and Transmission Exchange also has a huge factory business that rebuilds transmissions back to factory specs or better, and then ships them across the entire country. Vince and his team have great connections. They can find your parts. You simply can't put a price on the sort of experience, honesty, and integrity you'll encounter at ETE. All of your work is done by ASC certified technicians, and they'll only do what needs to be done, and they'll do it right. With locations on South 27th Street in Milwaukee and West Avenue in Waukesha, they have easy drop-off and pickup times, and they'll work around your busy schedule. Check out enginetrans.com. Enginetrans.com. It's engine and transmission exchange.
So I like vintage, and recently a customer purchased a 250-year-old grandfather clock. A great piece, but it had new glass in it, and it just didn't look right. So I had an idea. It was a Sunday, and I took a ride over to our store and searched through our unique vintage glass selection. I mean, some of this glass is literally hundreds of years old, and I found the perfect piece. It had waves and bubbles. It was beautiful. Jackie and I went through dozens of pieces of old glass, and when we were finished, we looked at this clock and realized we probably just significantly raised its value. This is David Wilhelm. Yes, at Lisbon Storm Screen and Door, you'll find windows and doors and hardware that you just can't find anywhere but here. But where else are you going to be able to search through a lot of old vintage glass to make your vintage project an absolute winner? Well, that's right here at your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Find out more at lisbonstorm.com.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pain, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your routine. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and try their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Simply call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, don't let it keep you from living the life you want. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
Men's wedding bands made from whiskey barrels and meteorites.
Welcome to Kessler's.
It is the Dan O'Donnell Show, and it's time now to name the unsung hero of the day, brought to you by Blue Line Cleaning Services, residential and commercial cleaning done by professionals.
They're on to find the hero of the day.
Today's unsung heroes of the day are the 250 motorcyclists in Sioux City, Iowa, who showed up to grant an 11-year-old boy's birthday wish. They filled the streets to make his day after seeing a mom's post asking for help in making a birthday extra special. Ashley Kirkus, the mother of her son Dallas, who said he wanted to ride a motorcycle, getting the idea after 12 cyclists stopped by a lemonade stand he was running and became obsessed with motorcycles. She posted an invitation on Facebook, hoping she could get a dozen or so bikers to show up. She said, "We ended up with 250 to 300 motorcycles at our house, along with the 712 Sioux City Jeep Club. We had 2 Vipers show up, several sports cars drove by. It was just amazing." The motorcyclists brought gifts and cards for young Dallas. Kirkus cried tears of joy. She looked over at her son, and the smile, she said, on his face, the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life, and it didn't go away for days. All of those bikers who made the boys' day extra special, your unsung heroes of the day. Thank God she didn't send out the message to the Hells Angels, or that house would have been burned to the ground. The kid would have like 5 tattoos, and he would have been inducted into the gang and committing armed robberies and selling meth as we speak. I kid. Do the Hells Angels even commit crimes anymore, or is it like now just a club? Same thing with the Outlaws. I don't know. I get most of my info on biker gangs from Sons of Anarchy. I have never actually been on a motorcycle, if you can believe that. Never in my life. I made a promise to my dad. His Uncle Jack was badly injured in a motorcycle, very nearly killed, and it traumatized my dad. So I had to promise him, well, when I was a kid, I had to promise him I was never going to drink alcohol and never going to get on a motorcycle. So I guess I'm batting 500 on my promises to my father. No, yeah, I never had. I've been like on a moped, something that goes up, 20, 30 miles an hour. You ride around on back streets. I think those are, just fine. I don't think I would allow my kids to have one, but a bike, it's dangerous. I know, and I realize it's a lifestyle. I realize, obviously, living in Milwaukee, the home of Harley Davidson, what that lifestyle is about. It just, I don't know. It just was never something that excited me. All right, we are going to be back with some sad news, unfortunately. The body of a graduate student pulled from the Mississippi River after disappearing in La Crosse.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Clay and Buck weekdays 11 to 2 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
The request rejected. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A judge has turned down the effort from the Trump administration to unseal the grand jury records on Jeffrey Epstein in Florida. A similar request in New York is pending. This as a House panel has just voted to subpoena files in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Speaker Mike Johnson said earlier today.
We're in lockstep with President Trump and his administration on this issue. We are pushing for the release of all credible information to be released with regard to the Epstein matter.
3 Republicans on the panel voted with Democrats for the subpoena, sending it through on an 8-2 vote tally. The speaker says he supports the House Oversight Committee issuing a subpoena for convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, but does question if her testimony can be trusted. The White House not denying a report from the Wall Street Journal that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed President Trump that his name appears on the Epstein files multiple times. Communications Director Stephen Chung says the president kicked Epstein out of his club for being a creep. Life in prison without parole for Brian Kohberger for the murder of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Kohberger took a plea deal, avoiding the possibility of the death penalty and waiving his right to appeal.
I want you to know this. My sincere wish is that you have not carried this burden alone.
Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador. Kohberger did not address the court at sentencing. President Trump hosting an AI summit in Washington.
From this day forward, it'll be a policy of the United States to do whatever it takes to lead the world in artificial intelligence.
The president calling the technology groundbreaking and said it will determine the future of civilization. Wall Street stocks made gains after President Trump announced a trade deal between the U.S. and Japan. The Dow added 507, the NASDAQ gained 127, the S&P plus 49. America is listening to Fox News.
A few chances for some showers and thunderstorms this morning. Otherwise, that'll be clearing out, giving us partly sunny skies, hot and humid conditions. A heat advisory is in effect from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. with heat indices that could be up to 105. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Lisa Michaels.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop Grand Appliance for extended July 4th specials on top brands like LG. Plus, get hundreds in additional savings you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local Grand Showroom. That's Grand Appliance. Appliance experts since 1930.
The Census Bureau says more than 12,000 Americans turn 65 each day. It's a surge they call Peak 65, the highest number in history. Some Annex clients retire early. Some keep working because they love it. You know why? Because they've got custom plans built by fee-only fiduciaries. They identified their wants and needs, and we went to work. We want to do the same for you. Annex does financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
Bob here for Redefine Realty, powered by EasyHomeBidder.com.
Brian here. I was in the market to buy my first home.
I rushed to see houses the day they went live on MLS. Made offers on 5 houses before finally getting the 6th accepted. I would have increased my bid on all 5 of the other houses I didn't get, but never got the chance.
Brian's story is tragic for Brian, but also for sellers. Brian would have paid more for each of the 5 houses he didn't get. That's 5 sellers guided by traditional MLS agents who sold their home for less than they could have. Redefined Realty, powered by EasyHomeBidder.com's auction platform and MLS, would have earned all 5 Wisconsin area home sellers more money, a lot more money. Selling a fixer-upper, a duplex, a condo, a $400,000 home, or a multi-million-dollar home. When buyers bid, sellers win. In fact, when buyers bid, buyers win too. Heck, everybody wins at Redefined Realty and EasyHomeBidder.com. Buyers win, sellers win. Obvious, but revolutionary. When buyers win, sellers win. It's real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
From the road to the roof, S&K will fix your plumbing problems 24/7. Benjamin Yount, weekday mornings 9 to 11 on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Go-Wall Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. For informational purposes only, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good afternoon. I'm Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor Joe Still with your closing business report. The major averages climbed higher today following President Trump's announcement of a trade deal with Japan. The news lifted optimism on Wall Street that the U.S. would reach more deals before its impending tariff deadline. In earnings news, shares of GE Vernova jumped over 14% on the back of solid second quarter results, citing continued growth, margin expansion, and positive cash flow, as strong power demand outweighed the effect of tariffs. GE Vernova also raised its full-year guidance after a strong first half of 2025. At the close, the Dow was up 507 to 45,010. The S&P 500 rose 49, and the NASDAQ was higher by 127 points. From Creative Planning, I'm Joe Still.
A tragic drowning resurrects an old and ridiculous conspiracy theory about a gang of serial killers at work in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. A tragic end to the search for Elliot Hines, who was found in the Mississippi River today, several days after she disappeared while walking home from a bar in La Crosse at about 2:30 a.m. on Sunday. She was last seen walking along the Mississippi River at about 3:30 a.m. and later spotted on surveillance camera footage walking in the general direction of her apartment, roughly 3/4 of a mile away. She never made it. Her body was found 12 miles later at about 10:30 this morning near Brownsville, Minnesota. Her cell phone, found by her friends, likely dropped at some point on her walk home from the bar. Authorities are waiting on results from an autopsy to determine official cause of death, but the working theory, I can tell you, in talking to law enforcement sources, is that this is a tragic accident, that she fell into the river, and that she drowned. That is not enough. Already, they are trying to tie this to the so-called smiley face killers. We'll get into that in just a second. Sizzling summer cash contest word this hour, grand, G-R-A-N-D, grand. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the word grand. You will win our grand prize of a grand in cash if your entry is picked at random, G-R-A-N-D. Best of luck to you. The smiley face killers is a theory that was advanced by a couple of retired New York City police detectives who, frankly, should have known better. Because the UW La Crosse campus is situated right on the river, and Riverside Park is a very popular destination. It's very near the downtown bar district. There were a number of young men, I believe 11 since 1997, who drowned in the Mississippi River. Now, the Mississippi, as you know, is a very fast-moving, very cold river. It is therefore not a surprise that people who go into it accidentally, especially after a night of drinking, especially in colder weather months, will drown. The theory, though, is that because so many young men were drowning in rivers in the upper Midwest, particularly La Crosse, these two retired detectives, Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte, said, hey, we think there's not one serial killer on the loose, but a gang of serial killers on the loose. The idea was that in a lot of these deaths, there was a graffiti of a smiley face somewhere nearby. Now, nearby is a very loose concept to these two crack detectives. Sometimes there would be a smiley face drawn on a building miles away, and this was seen as evidence that the smiley face killers had struck again. A smiley face is about the most common form of graffiti that there is. Law enforcement, including the FBI, looked into this theory, looked into every one of these deaths, and these were much more common in the early 2000s up until about 2008, 2009. In about 2008, 2009, the UW La Crosse administration partnered with the local fraternity to run River Watch, where they would have two people in brightly colored vests who would patrol the area. They would not allow anybody after hours to go into Riverside Park because it's very easy to fall in and to drown. The reason that it's so many young men as opposed to young women who are falling into these rivers and drowning is that young men, A, are more likely to walk home from a bar by themselves. Young women are much more likely, and they should. First of all, I believe if you're walking home from a bar, you should always be with somebody else. But especially for a woman who is much more likely to be attacked by a vagrant or another drunk, a rapist, somebody like that. Men are much more likely to take off from a bar inebriated on their own. Also, they are much more likely to urinate into a body of water, such as a river, and then lose their balance and fall. When they fall into the river, people think, well, it can't be that deep. How are they drowning? Well, A, if it's February or March or even April or May, the water is incredibly cold. And a lot of times when someone goes overboard on, say, a cruise ship or something like the Titanic is a classic example, people didn't drown. They died of hypothermia. They died of exposure because the water was so cold. You can go into shock in a matter of seconds. Even if you don't, your body, when it's exposed to sudden cold, just won't work like it should. And instead of you being able to swim to the surface, you sink like a stone. Add to the fact that someone is highly intoxicated, and you've got a deadly combination. I have no idea how Elliot Hines died. I don't. I think we can make a very strong case that she probably accidentally fell into the river and died. But the idea already, Men's Health magazine has an article here, literally within the last 2-3 hours, posting this online. Many college students went missing in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Is there a serial killer? This is absolutely ludicrous. I will allow for the very slim possibility that there is. But years and years and years ago, when these two retired New York detectives put out the smiley face theory, they put out a documentary. I think it was on Netflix. It was somewhere. It's like 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. The FBI's press office actually put out a statement saying the FBI has reviewed the information about the victims provided by two retired police detectives who have dubbed these incidents the smiley face murders and interviewed an individual who provided information to the detectives. To date, we have not developed any evidence to support links between these tragic deaths or any evidence substantiating the theory that these deaths are the work of a serial killer or killers. The vast majority of these instances appear to be alcohol-related drownings. The FBI will continue to work with the local police in the affected areas to provide support as requested, end quote. That was the FBI in April of 2008 when the smiley face killer theory was sort of at its zenith. Now, the theory was always that it was young men that were being killed. Elliot Hines was a beautiful young woman. Doesn't fit this narrative, but it does. And oh, by the way, people are texting me saying, well, Dan, why didn't the River Watch save her? It's because the River Watch is only in effect during the school year. This is obviously summer break for college kids. So they didn't have the river patrols. They're out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights every single weekend during the school year because it's so dangerous to be walking along the river. And we have had a couple of accidental drownings in Milwaukee as well. In fact, in 2012, a very close friend, in fact, one of my brother's very best friends, disappeared after a night of heavy drinking during a St. Patrick's Day bar crawl and was later found in the river. He had drowned. There was an attempt to link his death to the smiley face killers, which frankly, I thought was just as ludicrous back then as I do now. You're telling me that there is a gang of killers who have pushed dozens of young men and maybe a young woman or two into a river and nobody saw them do it ever. You're telling me that instead of killing these people by shooting them or stabbing them or a more conventional serial killer type death, they're going to risk the fact that the victim might not die and would be able to identify them by shoving them into a river. Not to mention the fact that there has never been, not on a single victim, any evidence of a struggle. There has never been any video evidence showing any suspicious people in the area. Out of the dozens and dozens and dozens of drownings in the upper Midwest, there has never been any sort of evidence that would support this theory. And this is sort of what I've been kind of getting to about conspiracy theories, whether it's smiley face killers, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or anything. It's that people have a tendency to fill in the gaps when there's a lack of information, when there is a mystery with whatever preconceived idea they already have in their head. And we have, I think, as human beings, this sort of preternatural desire to have order in the world. It makes sense to have things make sense, to have things fit logically, right? We don't like the idea that death can just kind of come randomly. That unfortunately, a beautiful, intelligent 23-year-old graduate student can be out with her friends at a bar and a couple hours later be dead in a river. That's not fair. It doesn't compute. We want to give order and meaning to that and say, okay, well, it wasn't just the sheer terrifying randomness of life. And randomness, the idea that death can happen at any time, is a terrifying concept. So what some of us tend to do is to fill in the gaps of that randomness with an explanation that sort of makes us feel more at ease. Well, she fell victim to this evil gang that is operating and has been for the past several decades. Well, no. The Jeffrey Epstein case, the sheer randomness of this billionaire pervert. He's getting all sorts of young girls to essentially operate as prostitutes for him. Well, it can't just be that this guy is having his wealthy and powerful friends and did a couple of them sleep with these underage prostitutes. Yes, absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind that some of the guests to Epstein's Island were, but is there this massive international billionaire celebrity pedophile ring? What did Mel Gibson say years ago? That Hollywood survives on the blood of children? No, I don't believe that's true at all. The JFK conspiracy is the classic one. Is it easier to accept that the president of the United States was taken down by shadowy, powerful interests who secretly control the world, or that he died in the sheer randomness of a communist who is on the FBI's watch list, but slipped through their fingers, got a mail order rifle, and pulled off a rather impressive long-distance shot from the Texas School Book Depository? 9/11. Is it easier to fathom that shadowy elements within the U.S. government, orchestrated by George W. Bush, weirdly enough, this conspiracy theory peddled by people who just happen to hate George W. Bush going into the 9/11 attacks, or a bunch of Saudis with box cutters were able to bring America to its knees? That is a terrifying thought, that the next flight that you're on could have been hijacked and you could have died instantly, or worse yet, you could be sitting in a high-rise building and death could come in the form of a plane crashing into you. The sheer randomness, the unpredictability of death, of destruction, of the crippling of America and freedom itself, I guess, is an overwhelming concept for people. And so they create, and I am convinced a part of conspiracy theory psychology is to create some level of order that makes sense to escape from the reality that things happen randomly. People die when we don't think they should. Life is not fair. Sometimes it causes us to question God's plan, right? What is the common thing? How could this happen? How could God let this happen? Well, the conspiracy theory, this broad overarching theory that, well, there's this malevolent force that must be at play here, is a way of making our brains sort of be satisfied with that randomness, because there is no randomness, right? Well, unfortunately, there is. Unfortunately, this poor young woman may have had too much to drink. She may have been relieving herself. She may have been throwing up. That's another reason, by the way. You are throwing up. Officers theorize, people who have actually seriously investigated these drowning deaths, is that it's either, for men, they're urinating and they're tipsy, so they lose their balance, or they're throwing up. And think about when you throw up. I don't want to be gross here, but you think you sort of pitch your head maybe back a little bit, and then you forcibly go forward as the stuff is coming up and out of your mouth. Well, imagine doing that. You're going over the river. Okay, I've got to just go over this bridge. Well, you do that, you're drunk, and you go straight over. I mean, that's unfortunately the reality of what happens in these cases almost invariably. But that's too random. I mean, I've got a kid who's going into his senior year of high school. That would be an unthinkable nightmare to get that phone call that he's missing. And I'm not saying, in fact, to my knowledge, the families of the young men over the years. I covered this at that other radio station when it was at its height. Again, 2008 through about 2014, 2015, maybe, when there really was a big spate of accidental drownings, or what appeared to be accidental drownings in the Mississippi River, centered in La Crosse. There were a couple, as I said, in Milwaukee as well, but none of them had any evidence to support this cockamamie theory that there's this gang of, so what, for 20 years, since 1997, for 25 years, what, there are like 47-year-old serial killers still prowling? Their bloodlust is apparently sated with one killing every couple of years. Come on, none of this actually makes any sense. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It's conservative thought, not just talk.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford Total Traffic Center.
Got a couple crashes eastbound on 94. One at 84th. It's now been moved off to the left shoulder. Another on the right shoulder at 68th. Taking 16 minutes from Moreland to the Marquette. 43 northbound from there up to Brown Deer. Another 15 minutes. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Prices are up, but your comfort doesn't have to wait. At First Choice Heating and Cooling, pay zero now and zero interest for 12 months. Lock in today's price and stay cool all summer. Milwaukee's heat's no joke. Call First Choice now.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
September 19th and 20th, streaming live only on Hulu. 15 artists, 2 nights, 1 stage. Get tickets now at AXS.com.
Escape to poolside paradise at MGM Resorts in Las Vegas. Sip on a refreshing cocktail. Lounge in a luxury cabana. Earn on nonstop fun with MGM Rewards. Book a sizzling summer escape today. Visit MGMRewards.com for details.
Grandma? In kitchen. Did you put these flyers in Lithuanian all over the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay, I know Kavelius is fool. What's the rest say?
Use translation app.
Oh boy. Okay, don't be a fool. Take excellent financial lesson with Grandma.
One lesson, $25.
You need money for something you need money for? Get a First American Bank home equity line of credit.
It's smart.
Don't get a credit card loan.
It's stupid.
Because First American Bank
has best loan deals in town. Okay, now read Big Finish.
If you get a credit card loan and not a First American Bank home equity line of credit, you could pay 2.5 times more in interest. Isn't this a bad word?
Very.
Grandma, everything you've said about First American Bank is correct, but charging people $25, I don't know, come on.
You are right. Should be $100. Help me fix flyers.
First American Bank, the bank that does more for your money. Visit firstambank.com or call us at 262-577-2400. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
At Wisconsin's own Accunet Mortgage, our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 less than the banks or the mortgage guys with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Find out how much you can save at accunet.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all. iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
The talk shows on WISN Radio. Not for the faint of heart and not for the feeble of mind. News Talk 1130 WISN. Fact is, until you've heard us, you haven't heard the whole story. Conservative thought. Not just talk. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
The Department of Justice, under the direction of Attorney General Pam Bondi, has asked for voter registration data from Wisconsin, as well as any information on election fraud. This is part of a broader effort by the Trump DOJ to try to get better information from the states about the possibility that same-day voter registration fraud, as was alleged by losing Senate candidate Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. You might remember that. He wanted to look into all of the people who registered and voted for his opponent, Tammy Baldwin, on the day of the election. Nothing ever came of it, of course, and Hovde was sort of accused of having sour grapes. There was something to the notion that there were a whole lot of people who were just being registered on that same day. Not enough that would have made a difference on the south side of Milwaukee. The difference maker in that race was, of course, Thomas Leaguer, the moron who liberals ran as a third-party Trojan horse to try to siphon of votes away from Hovde. Guess what? Hovde lost by the exact number of votes, within a couple of hundred out of millions cast, the exact number of votes that Thomas Leaguer got. There was unethical, dirty politics played, to be sure, but no real evidence of vote fraud. Federal officials have now requested a copy of the state's voter rolls from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and they have asked for incidents of voter fraud from Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski. Now, it may surprise the Department of Justice to know that Sarah Godlewski has absolutely no role in administering the elections that we run here in this state, and that her job is basically ceremonial. In its letter to Godlewski, Scott Larragee of the Executive Office for the United States Attorneys and Paul Hayden of the DOJ, with your cooperation, we plan to use this information to enforce federal election laws and protect the integrity of federal elections. The officials want to discuss with Godlewski a potential information sharing agreement that would provide DOJ with information on people who have voted illegally or committed other forms of election fraud. Now, Godlewski has absolutely no role in elections. The Wisconsin Elections Commission does. And wouldn't it surprise the Trump DOJ that the Wisconsin Elections Commission does not investigate any sort of allegations of voter fraud, unless, of course, it's a couple of mishandled ballots in the Madison City Clerk's office, and then it is a 5-alarm fire. Mary Beth Witzel Beal, who was not fired after running fraud in the park in 2020. Do you remember that fiasco in which they completely illegally accepted mail-in ballots at random picnic tables in every one of Madison's municipal parks? Nobody cared about that. In fact, I actually asked the Wisconsin Elections Commission, hey, are you guys going to do anything about this obvious fraud that is being paid? They said, well, we don't really investigate stuff like that. Yeah, you do. That's your entire job, is investigating stuff like that. But there were ballots that were not counted, that were just found sitting randomly in an office, in the clerk's office in 2024. Because Kamala Harris lost Wisconsin, and libs were furious that Witzel Beal might have contributed to her loss by not counting every single Dem vote in Madison, she was forced out. Full investigation by the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Meanwhile, you might remember a certain radio host who uncovered all sorts of very credible evidence of vote fraud taking place in Wisconsin's nursing homes. Now, it wasn't enough to tip the 20 or 30,000 votes that Donald Trump would have needed to overturn the results of the election. But I thought that we, and I mean me, with our listeners, who I encourage to look up their elderly relatives who are in nursing homes to see if they voted, even if they lacked the comprehension of what was going on in the world to vote. The example that I keep citing, because it is so prominent in my memory, is a woman whose mom was a German immigrant, and she suffered a massive stroke and could no longer speak English anymore. She could only speak German. The part of her brain that knew English was just shut off. Don't ask me how it happened, but it happened. She somehow voted. I don't think I need to tell you that nobody at her nursing home spoke German, and the ballots were not printed in German. The woman said her mom, who passed away shortly before the election, her ballot was still counted, by the way. She could not possibly have voted on her own. There was actually a criminal investigation into a nursing home in Mount Pleasant, but because the only people you could have credibly criminally charged were the members of the Wisconsin Elections Commission for giving out the guidance that nursing home workers were to assist with residents voting because they wouldn't allow special voting deputies, people who came from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. That's what state law calls for. People will actually go in and run the election in full view of relatives, children of the residents, in order to make sure that it's fair. In fact, under state law, nursing home workers are not allowed to assist in voting at all because of the potential to just steal an elderly person's vote. Well, there was all sorts of evidence in this election that happened. But there was not going to be a criminal charge filed against the members of the Wisconsin Elections Commission for giving out patently illegal advice, a decision I disagreed with. Racine County has an excellent district attorney, excellent, Tricia Hansen. And she said, look, I don't believe I have jurisdiction to prosecute these people, which I agreed with. She said that if there is to be a prosecution, it's going to need to come from the district or from the attorney general's office. And she declined to prosecute following the extensive investigation. Wisconsin Elections Commission should have been investigating the allegations of vote fraud. They didn't, primarily because those allegations came from me. Yes, producer Eric. Oh, you met Tricia Hansen over the weekend and you needed to verify that it was her. You just met her? Yeah, well, tell her Dan O'Donnell says hi. I'm sure she probably heard me say hi. So Tricia, if you're listening to this radio show, hi. Wisconsin Elections Commission should have been the one investigating and referring charges to the Department of Justice, but it didn't because it would have implicated obvious Democrat vote fraud. Is vote fraud a massive issue in this state? No, it isn't. And I'm speaking as the investigative reporter who found the most concrete evidence of the most widespread fraud in 2020 in the state of Wisconsin. Democrats don't try to, now don't get me wrong, does vote fraud exist? Yes, it does. It's all tied up in mail-in ballots. Folks, it's the ballots get mailed out, and how could you possibly know who is filling out a ballot? What I always say is there are 5 O'Donnells who live in my house, 5 of them. Any one of them could read a ballot and fill it out. How do you know that it's Daniel O'Donnell who signed the ballot? Oh, because Megan O'Donnell signed as the witness? How do you know that's even her signature? Nobody is doing any sort of signature matching or anything like that. It's simply too difficult to do. And when you have ballot harvesting, where ballots are simply sent out, and now the city of Milwaukee head of the election commission, she wants to just kind of send out ballots to every single voter in Milwaukee. Did you hear about this? She is looking to have, she wants to just send out ballots whether somebody requests them or not. Now, why would you do that? What possible reason could there be to send out a ballot to somebody who doesn't want one? Well, to increase voter participation. Do you realize that not voting is an act of voter participation as well? If someone is making a statement against America, they don't want a ballot. Why would you send them a ballot? The only possible reason is because somebody will be filling out that ballot. It might or might not be the person who is actually supposed to be. That's why it was paramount that Trump really do make the election. He really did make it too big to rig. Because frankly, I'm telling you, we have no idea how many mail-in ballots are actually filled out by the people whose name is on the mail-in ballot. We simply don't. And seeing as 2020 with COVID was just the perfect opportunity to get everybody on the indefinitely confined voter roll. We went from 60,000, 70,000 people who basically swore an affidavit saying they couldn't leave their house for any reason whatsoever. They get ballots just sent to them in perpetuity. We went from 70,000 to 250,000 in just a couple of months. Now, I couldn't prove that any of those quote unquote indefinitely confined people were voting fraudulently. But boy, doesn't that seem suspicious that there's this massive uptick in people who are saying they're indefinitely confined. All right, we got to step aside for a break because it is getting late in the hour and Sean Hannity starts regardless of whether or not I've shut up. We'll be right back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Crews with an accident, 145 northbound at Bradley up in Menominee Falls. It's blocking the right lane, heavy back to 4145. Northbound 4145 slow from Mayfair to Hampton. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Summer in Wisconsin, short but spectacular, so you have to make the most of it. One way is to take advantage of the Summer of Fun deals available at newstalk1130.com. You'll have a blast with a deal like this one.
Available July 24th, you can get $100 in credit for just $50. Good at any of the bars and Rex 5 locations, including the North Shore Club in the 3rd Ward and Axe MKE on the East Side.
To buy your Summer of Fun deal, go to newstalk1130.com, click the events tab, and let the fun begin.
The only agent I trust here in Milwaukee is Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Hey, Sean Hannity here. You know, I've bought and sold real estate around our great country for many, many years now. I have learned that you get the most money selling your home when you work with a trusted local real estate agent who has a proven track record. Justin spends thousands of dollars every month to attract thousands of buyers. Now, we have all driven around our neighborhoods. We see for sale signs in people's yards. You see them there for months on end. If you don't want to be that neighbor, we'll get your home sold fast and for more money. Now, don't take one of those quick cash offers from an out-of-town company. You will lose thousands in fees and equity. Get a local expert who can advise you, get eyes on your home, and who wants to help you get the most out of your largest investment. Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 5-star reviews. And then you can start packing.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. Realtor.com says depending on location and a few other factors, new hardwood floors add as much as 2.5% to a home sale value, even if you plan to sell. Enjoy home more now while increasing your sale price with Flawless's LVP, hardwood, or amazing realistic, super wear-resistant modern laminate plank. Steamy wet dog and litter box aromas bother homeowners and buyers. But you say, Dave, we want the sound deadening and warmth underfoot of carpet? Our Delafield and New Berlin showrooms have countless style and combination flooring choices, including quality luxury carpet lines. Steamy stains and carpet stink, including pet fluids, wipe off flawless floorings, luxury vinyl plank, and modern laminate plank, zero steam effortlessly. Our employee-only craftsmen meticulously refinish existing hardwood, even perfectly blending additional hardwood with existing. With Flawless's nothing down, zero interest financing, upgrade today and pay over 21 months. Sensory underload, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
Warshawski trial attorney Frank Crivello here.
Folks, I'm Victor Harding. Frank is selected Best Lawyers 2024 Complex Litigation Lawyer of the Year.
More impressive is Victor Harding named Product Liability Attorney of the Year again for 2024.
It may sound boastful to mention these prestigious awards.
It's not boastful considering if you or someone you love is injured, you need to know 2 attorneys from the same personal injury firm being chosen by other lawyers and judges for these caliber of awards is very rare.
Heaven forbid you ever need an injury claim made on your behalf. If you do, the quality of your attorney and law firm will have a greater impact on the outcome than even the facts of your case.
Former clients, other lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers, and even insurance adjusters,
often our adversaries,
refer their family and friends to Warshawski because they know Warshawski will achieve maximum compensation.
Injured? It is about the money.
Warshawski.com.
That's Warshawski.com.
I'm Ryan Harrison, owner of Ryan Waterproofing. Does it seem like storms travel hundreds of miles out of their way against prevailing winds to keep your basement damp, wet, moldy, even flooded? It isn't going to resolve itself. Freezing and thawing over time expands damage to walls, foundations, and even your family's health. That's not purified water seeping or running through your basement walls. It's filth, carrying every sort of bacteria, fungus, and mold. Only Ryan Waterproofing has an estimator project coordinator you'll love. Ashley's expert, honest, and will make you comfortable with the solutions proposed, and she'll be with you every step of the project. Doesn't matter how bad the cracks or sag in your basement walls are. Ryan has affordable sealant and water abatement solutions for most basements with convenient financing options, including 18 months, no interest financing. You actually might enjoy walking in the rain when it's not in your basement. Contact Ryan today. Because praying for drought is overrated. Ryan Waterproofing. Call Ryan.com. That's call RION.com. Call Ryan.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law. One call, that's all.
Okay. Well, wait, how about this one? Look, 3 bedrooms.
What's the catch?
Well, we'd have to replace the appliances.
All right.
And the style is straight out of the 80s.
Oof.
And the roof leaks.
How about a ready home from Belinsky Homes? They've got brand new homes in a wide variety of designs. We get all the benefits of new construction while skipping the building process. Look, just go to Belinsky.com to see all the ready homes available right now.
Offering one of the strongest lineups of talk show hosts in the history of local radio. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130, WISN. Now, back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. 1, 2, 3,
Breitbart is reporting that an illegal alien struck and killed an 18-year-old from Minnesota while driving drunk over the weekend. Her name, Hallie Helgeson. She was just 18 years old. She was killed in a drunk driving crash in Dane County. Her longtime boyfriend, 19-year-old Brady Heiling, was seriously injured. Noelia A. Martinez, a 30-year-old illegal alien with a history of drunk driving, has now been arrested and is charged with second-degree homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle, second-degree homicide by intoxicated use with a prohibited BAC, drunk driving, knowingly operating a vehicle on a revoked license, among multiple other charges. July 20th, Martinez was allegedly driving drunk when she crashed into the 2 teenagers who were in the young man's Volkswagen Tiguan. When first responders arrived on the scene, Hallie was unresponsive, pronounced dead 2 hours later. Brady had to be airlifted to a nearby hospital. Hallie's Instagram shows that the 2 of them had just attended senior prom 11 weeks ago, and her last post was a video montage of the 2 of them with the caption, 3 years of us. Meanwhile, First responders found open beer cans in Martinez's Chevy Suburban. Police officers said they smelled alcohol on her. She failed a field sobriety test. She had a blood alcohol level of 0.208, more than twice the 0.08 legal limit. At the time of the crash, Martinez was supposed to have an ignition interlock device installed on her car. Her license had also been revoked. She was never turned over to ICE. She's currently being held on $250,000 bond. Now, I had heard of this crash, and I had heard rumors that the suspect in it was not in this country legally. However, I do not know. This is Breitbart News reporting this. She lives in Portage. My producer was wondering where Martinez was living. She was living in Portage at the time, and she had a couple of open cases against her as well. In the current case, she also faces a charge of tampering with that ignition interlock device. This is her second OWI charge. Once again, people who have no business being in this country allowed to be here for what end? To what end did Noelia Martinez benefit and enrich Wisconsin? There's an 18-year-old girl who is dead. She just celebrated her 3-year anniversary with her boyfriend, who's never going to be the same. Physically, he may recover. He remains in the hospital. He may get back to 100%. He's never going to be whole again. That family is never going to be whole. This is why the single biggest success of the Trump administration is the deportation wave and the sealing of America's border. Because quite frankly, there are way too many 18-year-old girls who are lying dead because of drunk driving crashes, because of homicide, because of people who were allowed into this country but should never have been. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. We will wrap things up in just a couple of minutes.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Crews with an accident, 145 northbound at Bradley up in Menominee Falls. It's blocking the right lane, heavy back to 4145. Northbound 4145 slow from Mayfair to Hampton. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop Grand Appliance for extended July 4th specials on top brands like LG. Plus, get hundreds in additional savings you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at grandappliance.com or your local Grand showroom. That's Grand Appliance. Appliance experts since 1930.
Hey, Dan here for Weather Pro Exteriors, a family-owned and operated place that will take care of you with your residential or commercial roofing project. They do siding, they do windows, exterior doors, gutter replacement and installation, and they install only the very best products to ensure the job is done right the first time. Owens Corning Roofing, James Hardy Siding, Provia Doors, Weather Pro Windows, Velux Skylights. These are the best in their class. They serve Southeast and Northeast Wisconsin, from Milwaukee to Green Bay, the Fox Valley, and more. And you need to work with them because they're family owned and operated. And that means that they're deeply invested in your project, as invested as you are. They're certified, licensed installers, and you can trust them to get the job done and get the job done right. So right now, you need to get your project started by heading to weatherproexteriors.com. That's weatherproexteriors.com.
Life can move fast, so when you want to sell your home, Grandview Homes will buy it on your schedule.
We know your time is precious, and we won't waste it by giving you the runaround. Just a fair, guaranteed offer. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com today.
It is This Week with Annex Wealth Management. Dan O'Donnell alongside the CEO of Annex, Dave Spano. And this week, everyone is playing America's new popular parlor game, guessing whether President Trump will really fire Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Up on the clock is Dave Spano. Dave, what do you think? Will he fire Jerome Powell?
Will he? Will he not? Who really cares? The market continues to go up. But my opinion is that he will not do that. And even if he does replace the chair of the Federal Reserve Board, he still needs to be the chair of the FOMC. So, there are other voting members. So I would assume that even if you did that, you'd have to convince 6 of the FOMC members to support the move, not to mention there could be a legal battle. So how about we just fight another day to try to move the markets forward, move the agenda forward, and I think that's the better move. You saw that Scott probably shouldn't do that. There's better ways and there are better things that we should be working on right now. But as I said, the market continues to move forward, setting an all-time high once again. So people can complain about this, Dan, but the market continues to move forward. So I think that's the better idea. Let's get some clarity on the OBB, which we got. Let's get some clarity on the Federal Reserve on which way they're going to go. And lastly, on tariffs, and the market will move forward from here.
Frankly, I tend to agree with you that cooler heads in the form of Scott Bessent are probably going to prevail. And look, the chairman of the board only has a couple of months left anyway. So what good would it really do? And would his replacement actually be more likely to reduce rates? You need to know what you own. You need to know why you own it. You need to head to annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano, he's the CEO of Annex. I'm Dan O'Donnell. You've been listening to This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
Simplify keeps you safe, warm, and dry. For a free estimate, go to simplifyroofing.com.
Fox on Tech. Will the city with the most aggressive drivers be sharing roads with autonomous vehicles? Waymo, the self-driving car company owned by Google parent Alphabet, is making a return to the streets of New York City. They've applied for a new permit to test the vehicles in the infamous gridlock of Manhattan. But until they get the permit they seek, they'll have human drivers behind the wheels. They last had their vehicles in New York City in 2021 for manual driving and data collection, but New York state law does not yet allow for operating autonomous vehicles with no person in the driver's seat. Waymo hopes to get that law changed. They're already providing self-driving cabs in parts of San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And while Waymo tests, Amazon's Zoox announces a new 220,000 square foot production facility in Hayward, California, which will assemble 10,000 of their autonomous cars each year. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Smart speakers get a whole lot smarter when they're playing News Talk 1130 WISN. Just ask Alexa or Siri to play WISN Radio and bask in the glow of insight and enlightenment.
Well, you can tell the libs are terrified of the Tulsi Gabbard announcement today that she is potentially going to refer criminal charges against President Obama, members of his top intelligence cabal, for their role in the Russiagate hoax. How do I know that? Wall Street Journal reporting today that Trump was told back in May that his name appears many times in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Yeah, we know. We have known this forever. CNN was just trying to pass off as new pictures of Trump and Epstein together at Trump's wedding back in 1993 to Marla Maples. Those pictures have been circulating on Reddit. I have been emailed those pictures probably 5 times in the last 2 or 3 weeks since the Epstein scandal really went thermonuclear. Democrats have clearly adjudged that this is going to be the best attack, the attack that is finally going to stick on Trump. I read that our most intelligent response of the day from the nobody lib talker at WHBY in the Fox Valley. What did he reference? Epstein. Never mind the fact that they have just completely dropped the poor illegal immigrants who are being deported. They totally dropped the Elon Musk is Hitler. Now it is all Epstein all the time. It's remarkable how every one of them will just get on board with a new narrative at the drop of a hat. It is almost like a cult, producer Eric. It's Jones says drink the Kool-Aid. And the rest of them, by the way, I should do a forgotten history on this. Was it Kool-Aid that they drank? It was not. In one of the worst myths to ever come up for that poor Kool-Aid man. Oh, yeah. It was Flavor Aid. They drank Flavor Aid, and everybody just decided that it was Kool-Aid. So now drinking the Kool-Aid has become almost a cliche. It is just ingrained in the public's consciousness, even though Flavor Aid was actually what the Jonestown cult was using back in Guyana. They are going to keep going. There is going to be a new Epstein revelation. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice does want grand jury testimony unsealed. A judge in Florida today ruled that it can't be. Judge in New York has, I believe, yet to rule on unsealing the documents there. Obviously, the Trump administration wants everything released because they know what you and I don't, and that this isn't some broad conspiracy where Trump was getting trafficked 12-year-old girls. This is exactly what it looks like. And people don't realize just how much information we've had about the Epstein case for many years now. We know pretty much everything about it. But again, the conspiracy theories now being propagated mostly by the left will not be sated. We are out of time for today's show. Get out there. Enjoy the weather if it's not still too blazing hot. Stay cool, Wisconsin. We'll talk to you 3:06 tomorrow right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.